Seeing none, first item we have is approval of the minutes dated July 21st, 2026. Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved. Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? We have one resolution to consider today. We have resolution 2688, resolution authorizing the execution and delivery of a contribution agreement with the Industrial Development Board of the County of Montgomery, Tennessee. Do I have a motion for approval?
Motion.
Second. Got a motion and a second. Mr. Dillinger, Mr. Ward, y'all recognize sirs.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Commissioners. So, before we jump right into the contribution agreement, I kind of want to set this up as this is a transformational opportunity for Montgomery Co. So we've been looking at this land for many years, probably a decade, since Ted Crozier Boulevard was constructed many years ago and supported by the city. At some point, the Feltner property would develop. And so we've been looking at this property for a while. The IDB owns 69 acres and now 76 acres. You see that in the whereas statement. So we own 76 acres just to the south of this property. That we are connecting our property with this property, and it's always been the plan. We've always anticipated putting a convention center on our property next to now Vanderbilt Medical Center Hospital. So that's always been a plan. We own that land. When we were going through the development and the transportation concepts for our land, because we've been contemplating this for transportation as a #1 requirement from the start, we came upon that this land, this 220 acres, was being divided up into 10 and 30 acre tracts. And we talked to the owners and said, hold on, we want to develop all this land together under one master plan so that we have a complete and comprehensive transportation plan and a development plan. I talked to Mayor Pitts and Mayor Gold, and I said, we have a great opportunity for a transformational project right on our front door between exit 4 and exit 8. With our land and this land together, we can do something special for our community. So this, going back to where, open the aperture all the way, what is possible here? So what is possible is what we've got before you. And it starts with this Costco development, which is a very highly sought after retail developer that has one of the highest sales revenues of all retailers in the country. Many cities are trying to get the handful of Costco's that get developed each year into their community. So we've been in negotiation with them for a couple years to be the anchor on the Feltner property, which is 220 acres. But we've been working with a developer that has a relationship with Costco and with all the other co-tenants that would be with Costco, because Costco's rarely, if ever, develop as a single project. They always develop, or almost always develop, amongst many other co-tenants, because other co-tenants want to be next to a Costco because they all benefit from the high amount of foot traffic that comes into a Costco retailer. So, successfully, we've been able to negotiate with the company some terms. And the way this contribution agreement is set up is the IDB has a relationship and will ultimately have the development agreement and a pilot with Costco. For that to happen, by the Industrial Development Corporation statutes, we can do that. We have the authority, the IDB has the authority to go in that relationship. The county would contribute to the IDB some incentive dollars to support the IDB's development agreement with Costco. So the piece that we're asking for today here is your approval for the incentive package to go towards the Costco for this project that would go to the IDB, through the IDB, to the company. So back up into this, why is this a big deal for us? Why is Costco important? So the economic impact, the capital investment's $55 million, the low end estimated sales of $250 million. Most Costco's in Tennessee are making $300 million in sales revenue a year. At $250 million, the sales tax, or the local sales tax revenue would be $62.2 million. That is 250 times 2.5. You know, you're aware that our sales tax in Montgomery County is 9.5%, 7% goes to the state, 2.5 is a local option. So that 6.2 is just straight math, 2.5 times 250 million, 6.2 million. Now, when we divide that up, what does that mean within the 6.2? $4.57 million goes to the school department. That's the way it's worked through, and that's our county trustee has helped us get to these numbers. What's left over is the city of Clarksville gets the 1.65 million annually of the 6.2. So 1.65 and 4.57 gets us in the ballpark of 6.2 million. So those are the economic impacts, straight math, direct sales tax benefit. The non-monetary impacts are 600 great jobs for our community, just in the Costco development by itself. 201 indirect jobs, are those are the suppliers that are gonna, be driving trucks, delivering food and other other retail products directly to the Costco's. We're not talking about all the co-tenants, just the Costco. Enhanced quality of life because our community is asking for it. Threshold retail, what do we mean by threshold retail? Is a retailer that brings in other quality retailers, but more than anything, it helps us attract and keep our citizens in Clarksville. It helps us attract more doctors, more dentists, more engineers, more architects, because a threshold retail is if you're coming from Orlando or Frisco, Texas, or Fort Worth, Texas, you're gonna ask your spouse or your family members, is this place as good as the place that I'm leaving? Do they have a Costco? Is a typical question. And Costco and Trader Joe's are those threshold retails that they expect to have in a community of our size and of our stature. And this is the #1 requested retailer. When we ask folks in our community, what are you looking for from a retail recruitment? Costco is one of the top 2 on that list every time. We talk about the incentive. It's a performance-based incentive. Costco is a global company, and they only open up a handful of stores. It's a different number every year, but it's not in the hundreds. It's in the less than 30 a year. And every community, nearly every community, is having to provide some sort of incentive. Other parts of the country have, because the sales tax revenue is different in different parts of the community, in different parts of the country. In Alabama, Texas, Georgia, South Carolina, it's not unusual for Costco to get incentives of $40 million or more. So we are competing globally to try to convince a Costco to come to Clarksville, Montgomery County, Tennessee. And it's a competitive process. The incentive, the way these documents are drawn up. So the total incentive is $21,500,000 over 10 years. There's several conditions that gotta be met each year for this to be paid. We're never paying them up front. We're always awarding their contribution after they've achieved minimum sales revenues of $172 million a year and minimum sales tax of 1.075 or 2.15 million a year, or 1.075 million every 6 months. So we're not contributing them any money until we've already received in excess of the dollars that we might be contributing to them once they meet the conditions. So there's no upfront money. It's always receive the sales tax, accumulate the sales tax, and once they hit the minimum time and the minimum amount, then we will contribute that money to the IDB, who will contribute it to the company.
So basically, they don't get an incentive until they pay double the incentive.
So basically, it's a positive cash flow.
It's a positive cash flow, and if they hit the marks, which we expect them to hit, in every year, we're gonna have more than $2.15 million in sales tax collected. If they hit the $2.15 million in sales tax in 7 months, we're not gonna give that to them on the 7 month, we're gonna give that to them when they hit 12 months. So the 12 month and so the time constraint, the sales revenue and sales tax collected are the three condition of minimums that have to be met. And why we went with 1 year on the first year, because they're going from 0 to start. So where do they think they're gonna be in 6 months when they're going from 0? They might not be there yet. So we're giving them a full year, that first year, to get to their mark of 172 million in the first year, because they might not get to the 50% mark in the first 6 months. So that's why we spread it out to 1 year and then 18 payment periods after that in 6 months. And then this is a further breakdown that Ms. Kimberly Wiggins showed to us on the CMCSS breakout and the City of Clarksville breakout. So she's in what goes to the Montgomery County trustee to pay for her fee. So this is the exact numbers of what it would be if when they receive 250 million in sales revenue. That's how that's broken out. Any questions about the incentive and how this is structured?
Do you mind if we finish the slideshow real quick, Buck? We may preemptively answer some of the questions on the final two
Okay.
slides. And none of these incentive dollars will touch the general fund. That verbiage on the fourth bullet is verbatim. The company must remit $1,075,000 in local sales tax to the county every 6 months before they receive any dollars. The reason I believe this project will be wildly successful day one is due to the data that we sourced from Placer AI. So take a look at this chart for just a moment. We pulled the data for Montgomery County residents who drive to the Charlotte Pike Costco and the Hendersonville Costco. Think about this, every year, 50,000 residents drive down I-24 to go shop at Costco. Those are sales tax dollars leaving our community, and they're spending money in Nashville and in Hendersonville. That's a fact. We also pulled the data from Robertson, Dixon, and Cheatham County, and 334,000 people in the surrounding counties go to Charlotte Pike and Sumner County Costco. We expect to get about 150,000 of those shoppers coming to the Clarksville Costco if you approve this incentive. The data out of Kentucky is interesting. We looked this morning. There are only 4 Costco's in the state of Kentucky. There are 2 in Lexington, 1 in Louisville, and 1 near Cincinnati, Ohio, at the top of the state. So we're gonna crush Kentucky with sales tax, I believe. And I don't mean that in any derogatory way, but we are gonna be the only option for Trigg, Christian, Todd, and Logan County. Right now, 7,600 people drive all the way to Nashville. We expect to pick up another 25,000 Costco customers, and all of these dollars are currently leaving Montgomery County. So we'll collect them on day one. We've got a lot of questions about who are the co-tenants. I believe Clarksville now put out a poll, who do you want to see near the Costco? And so the video I'm gonna show you, and then we're happy to take your questions, will show you some of the co-tenants that Costco is working with. All of them are in LOI status, meaning letter of intent, but they're not gonna commit until they know there's a Costco coming. Costco drives the volume, Costco drives the revenue. What you see before you, there's a little stub out right now, that's Athletic Boulevard. We're cutting in the road, which we were gonna do anyway to provide secondary access to the Convention Center Hotel. The Costco is gonna sit right on I-24 if this is approved. From Ted Crozier to I-24, that's about 46 acres of retail, that's where the Costco is going. From Crozier over to the mall is a mixed-use development, more walkable retail, much like a Tanger outlet. And then if the Costco is approved, the Cafaro company who owns Governor Square Mall is gonna develop their 18 acres, which is in the green treat area right now. On the right side of the rail is the 69 acres that Buck mentioned. On the other side of I-24 is the industrial park. So I'm gonna roll this video. You can take a look at how everything would lay out and some of the possible co-tenants.
Any other questions or discussion?
So it's a 10-year or a 12-year?
It's 10 years, and so in the agreement, they asked for this, is a potential, if this gets to, if there's ever some issues with, that they have a bad 6-month period, and they don't hit their mark, could they have an additional 6 months? And so we agreed to give them 4 extra 6-month periods if they have any bad quarters or any bad periods where they don't hit 100% of their mark. So where that, the new minimum, a minimum, is they've got to achieve at least 87% of that mark. So it's, we expect it to be 10 years, but if something happens, there's a tornado or a flood, or we can't get COVID, or certain things can't pass through inspection for whatever reason. So we asked for, if requested to the board, would the IEB extend for 2 more years or 4 6-month periods to pick up any of the delta that they didn't make from 87% to 100% of the minimum sales tax and minimum sales revenue in a given 6-month period.
But the contribution amount does not change.
Yeah, so it's still, so that's where they're added one more paragraph. That was a negotiating point, that was 2 more weeks. We would have been here talking about this 2 days ago if we wouldn't have been talking specifically about that. That allowance of an extra couple 6-month periods.
So you guys answered most of my questions earlier that I had, come from actually the public, but I do have one more that came in from the public. Said, hey, I have read sections 2.1 and 2.2. The agreement says that county contributions aren't debt and are subject to annual appropriation in 2.1. But then says the company is an intended third-party beneficiary with the direct right to sue the county for specific performance if conditions aren't met and the county doesn't pay, which is in 2.2. My question is, has the county council opined on whether this creates a de facto binding obligation despite the non-debt language? That's gonna matter for future county commissions, not just this one.
You wanna answer that one, Tim?
Yes, I have opined on it. So you can't bind future commissions. It's a very strong language, but it says to the extent allowed by law. So it does create the ability for the company to say, we think you're obligated by law to fund, but it remains in the power of each body every year. You can't bind future commissions, you know that from everything else. So that's why that provision is in there, quote, to the extent allowed by law.
I'll send that back.
What now?
I'll send that answer back.
Okay.
Any other questions or discussion?
Is there any talk on, more exits coming, like a more B for A?
So, this is a good, I mean, I don't know if you guys can share this one.
I've seen it.
So, we talked about, transportation is part of this whole discussion. And like I mentioned in sort of my setup comments, we thought about transportation and trafficability from the start on this, and that's why we wanted to develop it as a 300-acre concept. R69 plus the 220, and there's other parcels that are developing around that. So as you can see, we have 4 and 5 lane internal roads on all of this. So once you get off Ted Crozier, you're gonna be on publicly supported roads that are gonna be conveyed to the city of Clarksville for internal roads. You know, we know that Wilma Rudolph is one of our more challenging areas because on the Wilma Rudolph with all the curb cuts, we don't have internal roads. If you wanna go from the U-Haul to the Outback, you've gotta get on Wilma Rudolph. There's no other way to get to those, but none of that's gonna be this way on this property. You're gonna have internal roads that will allow even better trafficability. So that if you're on the east side of Ted Crozier, you're gonna maneuver over on that. You're never gonna get back on Ted Crozier except to cross Ted Crozier to go to the west side. You don't have to get back on Ted Crozier to complete that. And so internally, Ted Crozier's underutilized, Athletic Boulevard's underutilized, and I know Dunlop is very busy, but the intersection of Dunlop and Ted Crozier was part of the traffic study, and it's actually fine, even with this model. And so what we like about it is it's gonna even give more access to Vanderbilt Medical Center. So there's gonna be an additional access that can come through here across the railroad tracks and get into Vanderbilt. Now, this is where, this is not a paid political statement for Mayor Gold, okay? So I'm not, but Mayor Gold has been forward thinking about, I-24 and access. And so, on his behalf, the EDC has been talking to TDOT, and with his permission, just most recently, the MPO has funded the second part of the study at the TDOT and federal highway standards for alternative exits off of exit 4 and exit 8.
Our population's gotten to the point now where, through the federal guidelines, we can now have an exit 4A, 4B, 8A, 8B. So that's what we're working on, and we're trying to get it designed and approved so that at the same time as they're widening the interstate, that we can have these exits built at the same time.
So this is, you know, last week, we got it approved through the MPO to start the next part of that study. The EDC funded the first, 1/3 of that study to get to a problem statement. And so, but there's a process you gotta follow to get major development dollars through TDOT to improve, but we're focusing on 4A and 4B. And when you are, whatever the solutions drive us to, alternative solutions along the interstate, that will, in essence, give us an exit 6 looking capability. So, that's where we're headed with that, and thanks to the mayor for supporting that and encouraging the EDC with all of our meetings to go to TDOT. And also, Senator Powers is part of this deal, as well as our elected officials are supporting 4A and 4B and 8B exits are some alternative to get more people off the road and in and off these developments that's occurring on Rossby Road and Gulf.
You mentioned the transportation plan. Does the city have a specific transportation plan, for their bus routes to these developments?
Actually, yes. I mean, so we just had a meeting with him earlier this week to talk about how CTS, you know, they're already, they got a bus route out to Vanderbilt Medical Center now. And they've got a bus route to the Walmart on, Wilma Rudolph now. So they've got that bracketed. So this is easy for CTS to add routes within this property to get folks that wanna use bus transportation into this area.
I'll give them a safer route, we just have to go all the way down Wilma every time.
Yeah. Did they say whether they would, cause right now, most of the buses run like every 30 minutes to an hour, and sometimes they don't run on Sunday at all. Did they talk about?
We're still initial planning on that, but they understand the requirement of where that's at.
I don't know, Commissioner Leverett, if you've ever tried to go shopping on Wilma Rudolph on a Saturday, but it's challenging,
Yes.
I would say. And having an alternative retail destination, I think, would spread out some of the congestion, having another option. So I think this, if you look at the amount of land that's available, this is the equivalent of having 5 Governor Square malls sort of in this singular development. So I think it spreads out the congestion from Wilma Rudolph. Not to mention the Spring Creek Parkway connection that will allow people to go from Fort Campbell Boulevard straight into this development. Now, that's a developer-funded final connection, but the city's funded it from where it's currently at all the way to Fort Campbell Boulevard. The interstate, that's funded by TDOT. That's getting widened. What the mayor and Bud are talking about is additional collective distributed corridors that could actually help people get in and out directly without getting on the interstate. So this has been thought out since 3 years ago, when we started chasing Costco. And I'll just say this, Mayor, if you don't mind.
Almost 4 years ago.
4 years ago. It gets blurry, but people wanna know, this multi-billion-dollar company, why do we have to give $21.5 million to get them here? It's a great question. They have the luxury of handpicking the best 15 deals throughout the year. And we're trying to get Clarksville, Tennessee on a list next to Tokyo, Japan, and Germany, and Europe, and Dallas, and Austin. And it's a big ask. So we're just trying to put our best foot forward, put a deal in front of them that's attractive, because they can handpick where they want to go, because everybody wants them. And so with your help, we think we can get them here.
Okay, yeah, I don't have any issue, I'm just concerned always about constituents, who wanna work, who wanna go to
Yeah.
work, but they have to take Uber and Lyft because we don't have enough bus routes, timely bus transportation for them to get to work. And so I wanna make sure that CTS is all in about bus routes.
Great comment, this is a great alternative for folks to work, with the flexible hours.
Great opportunity.
And the city's making a little extra money off of a county investment. So hopefully they'll put that to good use towards CTS or, road projects.
Sells local.
That again helps everybody.
Any other questions or discussion? Seeing none,
Motion to approve.
Second.
We've already got the motion, it's on vote.
Oh, we did.
All
We
those-
did the motion second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Nobody has anything else? We'll go ahead and adjourn. Appreciate you.